I've not done very much comments on comments recently, and I thought I should. Here's one from Faraway Lights 3691. Yours is a counsel of appeasement. Don't you see that the time for progressive posturing and, frankly offensive, excuse-making is long past? For decades, the British electorate has voted to end unpopular, unsustained immigration levels, legal and illegal. For decades, every political party has not just ignored the wishes of the British people, it has actively, willfully, and some might say maliciously, connived in the complete subversion of the people's wishes. These things do not go unnoticed. I reject your wishy-washy pifflery. It is well past its sell-by date. You seem like a well-intentioned man, but we're all out of good intentions. We've been ignored, abused and bullied for long enough by our so-called elites. And look what they have done and are still doing to us. Enough! The reckoning cannot come soon enough. There is nothing morally wrong with wanting to assert national borders robustly and with absolute prejudice. You've travelled. You know how this works in other countries. I can't believe you still think you're still one of the good guys. Well, there we are. Here's a response as much as I can. I fully accept that there are criminals in every group and that the responsibility for dealing with criminals among migrant groups belongs to us. And this comment rests on several flawed premises and a dangerous emotional spiral. It claims to speak for the British people as a monolith. It mistakes cruelty for strength. It confuses frustration with permission to abandon moral and strategic clarity. And I think a lot of people think that because all they hear, all they get in their social media feed is stuff that supports their point of view, I think they fail to realise the algorithm does that. Not everybody agrees with you. Even if that's what your phone or your tablet or your computer claims. It wrongly asserts a binary, either mass exclusion or naive indulgence. Most asylum seekers are not here to defy the electorate. They are fleeing war, persecution, violence, trafficking, religious oppression. And even those who arrive irregularly are protected by law if they have a legitimate claim. Britain helped write those laws after 1945. A country that claims Churchillian heritage cannot pretend amnesia when human beings arrive seeking precisely the refuge we once promised and he offered. To process claims efficiently and fairly is not appeasement, it is competence, and we are failing to do that. Secondly, it misunderstands human psychology and public safety. People trapped in indefinite limbo deteriorate. They become anxious, depressed, traumatized, and sometimes angry. Trauma untreated becomes risk to everyone. The biggest predictor of social harm is not nationality, it is prolonged uncertainty, poverty, and isolation. It is the loss of agency. Providing medical and psychological aid is not performative virtue, it is preventative public safety. The choice is simple. Help people stabilize and integrate or nurture despair and resentment in the shadows. Which future is safer? And it ignores responsibility. The fox in The Little Prince, Petit Prince, is right. Taming creates responsibility. A stray cat that we take in, feed, becomes ours to care for. We have already admitted asylum seekers into our jurisdiction. We cannot ethically or pragmatically pretend that they are not here and dump them in a hotel and pretend that's sorted. It isn't. If we grant shelter, even temporarily, we also inherit a duty to ensure mental health, education, dignity, physical health. These are things which we have failed to do. There was the business with Priti Patel and Jenrick and Suella Braverman. The comment, it mistakes vengeance for policy, and the person leaving this comment speaks of a reckoning, of a prejudice as if it's virtue, a bullying because we were once bullied. That is not patriotism, that is grievance, and grievance doesn't govern well. A border can be firm without losing its humanity. A law can be strict without being spiteful. But when prejudice becomes a policy principle, the nation hollows itself morally. I think also the person who left this comment misrepresents the electorate. Polls show anxiety about chaotic systems, not about refugees as human beings. Voters want fairness, speed, enforcement against criminals, and contribution. They do not want camps, chronic limbo, or neglect. They want the Home Office to actually get off its backside and start doing some work. And that's something the Home Office hasn't done for 20 years. That is exactly what I am arguing, to end the paralysis, to restore agency, to accelerate decisions, to support and integrate those who stay, to remove those with no claim quickly but lawfully. That is the mature centre ground, not what the commentator caricatures as pifflery. I haven't heard that word since Boris Johnson, by the way. If migrants have suffered trauma, whether from torture, exploitation, or the terror of a dinghy on a Black Sea at 3 a.m, that trauma has consequences, and it goes on and on and on. The brain doesn't reset upon arrival in Dover. Without medical and psychological support, we are simply storing up crises for later. Any responsible government plans ahead to prevent greater harm. If we delay decisions, we trap people in powerlessness. Powerlessness breeds mental illness. Mental illness without support breeds risk. So we must choose a functioning system that treats people as humans and produces good outcomes for Britain, or a dysfunctional system that breeds despair and then feigns surprise when despair becomes social difficulty. The current limbo is not protection of borders, it is policy failure masquerading as toughness. So the argument here is neither naive nor soft. It is rational, humane, and economically prudent. The alternative posture is chest-beating and prejudice disguised as principle. That is short-sighted and self-defeating. That is Reform UK, I'm afraid, for the most part. In the end, it's also the Conservative Party. In the end, modern Conservative Party under Kemi Badenoch anyway, in the end, the measure of a nation is not the noise it makes about defeating itself. It's the moral intelligence with which it governs those who arrive at its door. Britain can be safe and still be good. In fact, the only durable safety comes from choosing to be good.